The silence beneath. In a small, timeless town nestled between a mountain and a sea, there lived an old clockmaker named Elias. His shop was cluttered with ticking machines, all wound perfectly, each beating in harmony like a grand orchestra of time. Yet inside Elias's mind, the clocks were not so synchronized. Each morning, as he wound the clocks, his thoughts would race like wild horses. Did I forget to lock the back door? Should I replace the springs in the cathedral bell? What if time itself is breaking down? His conscious mind, always loud, always questioning, seemed never to rest. One night, Elias had a dream. Not vivid, not dramatic, but quiet. He stood before a vast lake, utterly still, no wind, no birds, no movement. In the dream, he was struck by a strange peace. He woke confused. No message had been spoken, no figure appeared, and yet it lingered in him like a whisper that refused to leave. Days turned to weeks, and the dream recurred. The lake remained still. Elias began to sit silently in the back of his shop, closing his eyes for minutes at a time. He stopped trying to interpret the dream and simply let it visit him. With each visit, the clamor of his thoughts softened. One evening, a child wandered into the shop, asking Elias, "What's the most important part of a clock?" Without thinking, he answered, "The silence between the ticks." The child frowned. "But there's no sound in between." "Exactly," Elias said, smiling. "That's where time rests. That's where understanding begins." The seasons passed. Elias's clocks continued ticking, but his mind had changed. The noise of his thoughts, the constant commentary, the worrying, the explaining, no longer felt like the whole of him. It was just the surface, like ripples on water. Sometimes he'd hear that voice in his head start again, "You should be doing more. Fix that old tower clock. Write down your legacy." But instead of obeying or resisting, Elias would return to the lake in his mind. The dream that never spoke but always stilled. One cold winter morning, a traveling philosopher came into the shop. She examined the clocks, then turned to Elias and asked, "How do you stay so calm surrounded by 1,000 ticking voices?" Elias looked at her, eyes kind, hands still. "Because I've learned not to listen to the noise alone. The truth doesn't yell. It listens. It watches. It waits." The philosopher tilted her head. "And where do you find it?" "In the places where my mind stops shouting," he said, "and something deeper begins to breathe." They sat for a long moment in silence, surrounded by clocks, by ticking, by the rhythm of passing time. But beneath it all, there was a stillness, a presence that said nothing, yet meant everything. And Elias knew, the conscious mind will always talk, but wisdom, real wisdom, comes from the quiet watcher beneath it. The one who doesn't explain, doesn't demand. The one who simply knows.